Through the Blizzard, a short story by Danbomb321, read and narrated by Danbomb321. Snow. That's all Jane could see while driving. The snowfall coming down like a wave. Her high beams are on and her wipers are going as fast as possible, yet it's like her car is submerged in a bucket of snow. Driving slowly with her hazard lights on, Jane moved down the invisible road, trying to find any sign of civilization in this dense forest. Jane had already checked her phone, only to find no cell reception. She isn't quite sure if it was the forest or the blizzard blocking it out. The only thing she's sure of is that she's alone, in the dark of night, forest on all sides, driving through the blizzard. No cell service means no GPS, so it's anyone's guess if she's even going the right way. As she drove, some lights appeared beyond the snowfall, neon strips and a bright sign. She can't make out what it says until she gets close. 24-hour diner and truck stop. Jane decides to pull into the parking lot, hoping the snow might calm while there. Putting her car in park and shutting it off with a clunk, she steps out into the frigid temperatures, walking toward the entrance. The diner is small and retro, classic black and white tiles on the floor and neon lights lining the ceiling. Peaceful, quiet, and empty, aside from the bartender, waitress, and presumably cooks in the back. Jane looks around the place, barely realizing the waitress is talking to her. Huh? Jane looks at her. Booth or table? The waitress asks again. Oh, booth, I guess, Jane responds. Her mind has been all over the place since the funeral, that of which she's returning home from. The waitress seats Jane, and she looks at the menu. She orders a Pepsi and asks for more time to look for the meal. As the waitress walks off, Jane zones out until she hears her grandfather's voice say, "You should get the chicken tenders. You used to love them as a kid, and they're cheap." She looks up around frantically. Must be just in her head. He's gone, after all. The waitress walks up with the Pepsi. Jane subconsciously says, "I'll take the chicken tenders, please," and the waitress walks off. After eating and paying, Jane walks back out into the cold. The snow hasn't ceased at all. She sits in her car and turns the key. Click. The car won't start, it only clicks. She tries again, still nothing. Jane steps out of the car and opens the hood. The entire engine is frozen over. How in the world? Jane asks out loud. Something wrong, miss? Jane jumps and looks up to an older man, who looks about as old as her grandfather was. Apologies, didn't mean to startle you. You seem familiar, Jane states. I get that a lot, the man replies. The dang engine is frozen, it's so cold out, Jane says with a mixture of confusion and worry. Let me take a crack at it, the man says. Get in and try starting it, he finishes. Without having any other option, Jane gets in and turns the key. The car sputters into life. How in the... Jane gets out of the car to thank the man. Walking around the hood, she finds he's already vanished off into the storm. She closes the hood and gets back into the driver's seat and back onto the road. She drives on, startled by her encounter. It was uncanny. The way he looked, the way he talked, his voice, all reminded her of her grandfather. He's gone, she repeats to herself, thinking so deep she stops paying attention to driving safely. Careful now, her grandfather's voice from the passenger seat. Startled, she slams the brakes, the car stopping only inches from a deer standing in the snow. She swings her head around to look at the passenger seat. She's alone, but his voice was as clear as day. The realization suddenly hit her that she almost ran directly into a deer, in the middle of the forest, at night, in a blizzard with no cell service. Tears well in her eyes. What in the world is happening? She wipes them away as the deer runs off. She continues down the street. The snowfall let up just enough to see that she was about to miss the turn onto her road. She turns a little ways and drives into her driveway. Home, finally.